Railroad Preserver 2000, they're back again doing another video here in Morgan County, Georgia here, and this is the abandoned railroad line here that's in here at on Lower Appalachia Road. And as you can see here, this track is abandoned quite literally, because here I am standing in the railroad cut, and there's trees just shooting through all this track here. This is all land that they're logging on. But as you can see, the track has been lifted from the ground just due to the trees sprouting up. I know this would be considered sealing, but I don't think they're going to open this train line anytime soon. But here you can see the trackage as it looks today. This is all of the railroad's cut and right of way. Where these pine trees are is where the tracks are. And they curve off in the distance down there. Part of it is still in use for storage only, no through traffic. Here, hang on.
One from the upper Appalachia, and now you got this one from the lower Appalachia. But yeah, as we were driving in, I thought, well, you ought to be able to walk out there and get something.
But yeah, this pretty much all of where these pine trees are is the railroad right of way. They came in and logged all the other trees, but left the ones growing over the tracks alone. Yeah, you can see that's a relatively deep cut. And the tracks emerge from that cut here, all overgrown. They probably will cross right in here, I'm sure. And then it goes from a cut to a relatively slight grade, as you can see here. It's hard to look at, but the tracks are right there in the brush. Yeah, and the rails are still there, and look at that. That looks like it's still firmly spiked down, but in some portions it looks like there's just trees covering it up. But in reality, it looks almost like some of these sections almost have no tree growth whatsoever. But I say some, I don't think all of them do. But this is the first time I've seen this section of the rail line. I've seen all the others on the way in from Bishop to Farmington. This is the only other section I've not documented. Yeah, see, look right there. That looks like it has no tree growth. And whatever trees there are small. That could easily be removed, I think. Like right in there, see? That just looks like there's fallen trees and whatnot. Speaking of fallen trees, there's a pine tree there that has fallen across the road. Which is kind of funny, considering they were logging and that was brought down by Hurricane Irma. Like I say, part of this track is just still in use for storage. That's just further up. In fact, I know exactly where this track starts to look abandoned. It actually starts to look abandoned near a church here. In fact, here's the tracks right here. And you can see here where the tree growth is literally lifting the rails up off the actual ties. There's a downed pine. And there's a crossing that they just literally decided to just cover up with dirt. Mm-hmm. That wouldn't take much to clear up. So the right of way is here. All this undergrowth and whatnot. Is there a possibility? I was going to say, if there was a crossing nearby, if there's no traffic, I always wanted to get out and stand in the cut right where the tracks go from looking at like they're used to being abandoned. I don't know if there's a crossing to where I could actually do that. That's just it. Yeah, the railroad tracks are currently in a cut right now. That's why you can't see them. But I know where they are because of the trees. House. You can see they're renovating it. Yeah, right in here is where it starts to look abandoned, like it's clearing up.
Oh, wait, just crossing it.
I'm probably gonna have to walk a little ways.
That's okay.
Like I say, this isn't for like through traffic either. I think the tracks here are just for storage. And even now, look, pine sapling.
Yeah.
Actually, we could probably park in
I was
this.
gonna say, we always get.
Okay, I'm back here and I'm gonna attempt to walk the trackage here for a little bit. Not all the way through, but partially. Because you can see, it actually is abandoned in both sections. This side is just the only portion that's clear. You can see these are just not in use at all, period. This is all just storage trackage now. And you can see there is substantial evidence that there has not been a single train through here at all. I'm just happy to see this section of track is at least in decent enough shape to where it's kept at least, well, open. But as you can see, there's already weeds and tree growth starting up on this section of track. So if nothing's done in about 20 years, this whole line will be unclearable because the trees will have uprooted all the trackage. In fact, here's the first pine tree that's sprouted on the track. So if you wait a while, this is going to let this rail clear up. Despite being abandoned for a long period of time, some of these ties almost look like they're in good sort of shape. They're just rotted due to the elements of the tree growth in there. I mean, you can see here the ties, some of them still are in sort of decent shape, or in decent condition. Not all of them, but some of them. As you can see here, though, all of this trackage is abandoned. From here okay, so right in here, guys, is sort of like quite literally the end of the line, because if I zoom in, and forgive me, this is going to look very blurry when I do this. The rails disappear into what is literally a tunnel of trees and other plant growth. So yeah, I'm also going to try and find this. Look at the date on the rail. This rail is 100 years old. This one stretch, 1901, that's when it was first forged. You know, despite this, some of this trackage looks like it's still sort of shiny, like it's just being stored. But that's really all there is to it. But like I said, they only store train cars on here now. There's no trains that come through here. Guys, I know what this is. This is a piece of a telegraph insulator. This is a fragment. This is actually the first one I've ever found, like by the track side. There's no legible writing on it, but still a telegraph insulator nonetheless. It's actually neat. And now I bet you if I walked this entire line all the way through, I'd probably find one or two insulators that are still intact, because I've looked on Google Maps at this stretch of track here, and there's been really the only time it was fully clear was in 1993, and even then it was already under, I think, or shortly, I think that was shortly before Norfolk Southern gave this line to the Athens Line Railroad, and they haven't used this stretch due to a lack of industries. There's a lumber mill up here that still is servicing by, it still gets rail service, but it's offered by another short line now. So, I mean, unfortunately, had they wanted to, they could probably have gotten the, if the Athens Line wanted to, they could probably have opened this all up so they could actually have wood lumber products shipped up through here. I'm going to walk up here at this crossing again and take one last photograph here. And then I'm going to end the video. Because in a sense, I've pretty much documented all there is to really see. If I could come back up here in the winter time when there's no tree growth, then I could probably walk a little bit more of the abandoned stretches. I just like how this looks like it's how it's abandoned, sort of. But you can see it's clear all the way up, I think. So yeah, this marks the end of the video. And so, yeah. See y'all later.